Alrighty. Probando, 1, 2, 3. Let's see if it works. Yep, it definitely works. Alrighty.
Let me try it. ¿Qué pasa si yo hablo?
A ver, veamos. Let's try it out. Well, these will be bloopers.
Okay.
Go.
Test, mic test. 1, 2, 3.
Some crazy Daniel, come on.
Nada viene a mi mente.
Alright. Alright.
Go. Test, mic test. 1, 2, 3.
Some crazy Daniel, come on.
Nada.
Alrighty. Okay, it works. Okay guys, so for this podcast episode we have Daniel Cornejo, a good friend of mine, so say hi to the camera, hi to the audience.
Hello. Hi.
Okay, so Daniel, we've known each other for a few years now.
Yes,
and Daniel's a really exciting guy. He knows a lot about computer programming. He actually tried teaching me. That'll be a whole nother story. We'll talk about that. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Daniel. Where'd you grow up in, for the audience, that doesn't have the background?
Sure. Well, I was born in Chile.
Okay.
And then when I was very little, we migrated to Bolivia. So I grew up in Bolivia. I studied there. So yeah.
So as a kid, Daniel, something we like to ask our guests is there's a moment where a child or a teenager sees a passion or something that they like to do. When was that moment for you? When did you find out that computer programming was going to be your thing?
I think I was 11 years old when I saw a movie. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's called War Games.
War Games.
Yes, I think it came out in 1983.
1983.
But I didn't see it until later, 1987 probably.
Okay.
Because I was 11. So it was about this kid that was very good with computers. He was kind of a hacker.
Okay.
And he, I remember he used his skills to change his grades at school. And then he was trying to look for computers to get into.
Gotcha.
And he found, I think it was a NORAD computer, like the system that controlled the launch of, missiles, nuclear warheads.
Okay.
So he started playing with that computer, and I recommend you watch the movie. So
what's the name again?
War Games.
War Games, and it's it's a 90s movie.
No, it's an 80s movie.
80s movie.
Yes.
Okay, 80s.
Matthew Broderick, isn't it?
Okay. I'll look it up. And for anyone that has seen, make sure to comment and let me know how it goes with the movie.
So yeah, but I guess what I saw in the movie interested me into getting more to know more about computers. So I remember asking my dad to get me one, and what he did instead was to enroll me in an institute.
Okay.
To learn how to program, and then after I finished that, he actually got me a computer.
Okay. And so what do you think your dad's thinking was behind that? You think it was, well, maybe it's just a one-time thing that he's excited about programming and he wants a computer.
Yeah,
make sure
he probably, yes. He thought that maybe that I didn't really know what computer programming was about, so maybe get me into an institute where I would really know what it is, because I would have to study and do all the curriculum.
Gotcha.
And then if I still wanted to be a programmer, then after that he would get me a computer. And he was smart.
Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah. I think different parents act in different ways, and I'm sure that you appreciated what your dad did for you in that instance. Now, do you think that what year did you get your first computer? What year was that?
Let me think. Probably 1990 or 91.
And do you remember what computer it was?
It was what they called a clone computer. It was a 8086. No, it was a 286 processor.
Okay.
Which was a little, I think, next generation after 8086. It had a 40 megabytes hard drive.
Okay.
And I think 512 kilobytes of RAM.
Wow.
So yeah,
Okay.
it was a very small computer. I remember when later when I got into university, I still had that, and loading the compiler for C++ took the whole thing.
The whole story.
Yes, I had to delete everything and just put the OS and the compiler for C++, and nothing else could go in the computer because all the capacity was taken.
It was full, man. So back in the day when these computers, couldn't store as much data as now, how popular was computer programming back then? Because now it seems like every school in the district wants kids to be coding. There's even a day, I'm sure you've heard of it, Code Day.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so they're really pushing students to learn how to code. They say it's the future.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know your thoughts on how it was back then. What do you think about it now?
Back then, it wasn't really popular. It wasn't a thing. People were thinking mostly about becoming a lawyer or a doctor, or maybe a civil engineer. But computer coding wasn't really popular. Yeah, it's definitely not the same as it is now.
As it is now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And since you got on it early, right? You were programming since before it got trendy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about this age that we live in, where it's a career that many people are incentivizing their children to do,
yeah, mm-hmm.
or to pursue? How do you feel about that system or that way of thinking?
Well, I think it's good because it's there is demand for it, and I think it would be much easier for a software engineer or computer programmer or software developer to get a job now than it would be for a lawyer, probably, in a firm.
Gotcha.
I would think there's certainly a lot of demand for it. But yeah, that's what I think. And in terms of how the technology has changed,
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first language I knew or I learned was a flavor of BASIC. It was called Basica with an A.
Basica?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was that was before what was called structured programming. In this, it was similar to assembly code or machine code in that every instruction was in its own line of code, and if you wanted to do a like a loop,
Mm-hmm.
You would jump, go to line 10, then you would check a condition if you wanted to get out of that and continue down. But reading a program like that, especially if it was a long program, it was very difficult because you would need to trace where am I jumping, where am I coming from. So it was called spaghetti code.
Spaghetti code.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah. It was those programs were hard to maintain, to read.
Okay, and when you were coding, what have been the most exciting projects you've worked on throughout your work history? It probably doesn't have to be about work. It could also be on the side, mm-hmm. things that are your personal projects. If you can disclose to the audience, just let us know, man. What are your exciting projects you've worked on?
Let's see. I like projects that involve concurrency.
Okay.
Like when programs are not strictly sequential. When you have the computer doing many things at the same time. one of the projects I worked, it happened to be at work, was to like manage a farm of computers that would do a task that was very computer intensive, like CPU intensive.
Okay.
So you would finish or the process faster.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting. And then I don't know, the other things I worked on are more mundane.
That have to be top secret?
Yeah, well, yes.
Can't disclose them? Okay, we won't disclose.
Mm-hmm.
So now when it comes to the let's talk about after you finished computer programming and you were from Bolivia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had that experience over there. What do you tell students that are trying to find their passion, that are trying to find what they like to do? In your case, you say you were inspired through a movie, and
mm-hmm.
then you jumped into the institute and you started, and that was, I guess, your beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
For computer programming. But how do you think people can figure it out along the way?
Well, I guess you would need to find out what do you enjoy doing, like as you said, what is your passion, I guess. And I guess you need to be humble enough to differentiate something that you would like to do and something you're good at.
Okay.
Because, yeah, for example, I like physics. I find them super interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not very good at like mathematics. Not because I don't get it, but because I am a little bit dyslexic.
Okay.
So I'm not very good at math. Let's say that. So I know I wouldn't be able to be a physicist, for example.
Okay.
Although I find it super interesting. But I guess, yeah. See if you can do for a living what you are good at, and if you like it, even better, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. For example, don't get into computer programming if you enjoy, dismantling equipment, for example,
Okay.
and putting it back together, because it's not the same skill set as for a computer programmer. Maybe it's for an electrical engineer or something like that.
Okay.
But try to see what your skill or the thing that you like to do and what you're skilled at matches in more academic, in academia.
Okay. And so early on, I've known you for a little bit, and I've kind of noticed that throughout the years, I've gotten to know you a little bit better. What are some things that, and we've also interviewed a lot of people that have kind of mentioned some things that have been bumps up in the road that have kind of prevented them from reaching certain things, or that in your case, what has been something that you've had to overcome, and it can be business related, it could be work related, in your life, that you were able to overcome, and in the end it benefited you in some way?
Good question. What I had to overcome. I don't know, maybe the language barrier, because when I got my first job here, my English wasn't good.
Alrighty.
So I guess the language barrier was a big thing for me. I was able to I don't know how, convince my interviewers to get me the first opportunity that I found here. So, but yeah, I think how did I overcome that? Just by practicing, by speaking the language, listening and reading.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And so many people in the audience don't know this about you, but you're very tedious when it comes to your job, and also when it comes to studying. So it's not just a matter of like you said, you were self-aware to know your strengths, and then you followed through with that with hard work, and I believe that's how you got to where you are now.
Yes.
And you were able to get that opportunity. So for many students, and I go to a community college that has a lot of international students. Some from South America, others from just other parts of the world, and they kind of tell me that the language barrier is very difficult to overcome. So what advice would you give them coming into a new system, right? Something completely different from what they're used to, of how to continue to overcome those challenges?
Okay. Well, if you want to learn a language, a new language, just immerse yourself in the language and take the opportunity that you're in the environment where the language is spoken, and you can read publications or listen to the news, for example. If you watch TV, don't watch TV in your native language. Watch it on your on the language that you're trying to learn. So yeah, I would say that just take the opportunity to the maximum that you can.
Gotcha. And when it comes also, I think there must be culture shock. I don't know. Did you experience that when you came to the States? A bit of a culture shock, or that wasn't really.
Well, I noticed the lifestyle is different for certain, but it wasn't as much like it wasn't difficult to get used to it, for me at least.
And what do you think that is?
Because you would notice that the difference are for the better. Like here, you get more things that are you get more comfortable here.
Okay.
Life isn't as difficult.
Are you saying that we're soft here in America? Let's be straight up.
You said that.
I said that. Okay. No, but I think you would agree with me that a lot of immigrants that come to this country think that Americans are soft.
Well, I guess so. Because life is certainly harder outside the United States.
Okay.
Like I'm not thinking about Europe. I've never been to Europe or lived in Europe, but I've lived in South America, and there, especially in Bolivia, for example.
Gotcha.
Bolivia is a very poor country.
Okay.
So yeah, life is harder there. Chile, I guess I would say comparable, but even here would be easier. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and so I think a lot of the students that go to my college think the same way. You know what I notice is they're very hard workers. They're very they study a lot, and overall they're really smart. And the only thing, or at least one of the things I see that kind of is hard, is a bump in the road, is the language barrier. But once they can overcome that, I mean, the sky's the limit, right? They have these opportunities.
True. Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know that you're learning French.
Yes.
So you're learning French, and that's exciting. I don't know a second. Well, I mean, I guess I know English and Spanish, but so does Daniel here. But he wants to take it up a notch. He wants to learn French. So how has that been with learning a new language? There's some people in our audience that have probably thought about it. They're debating it. What are some tips for someone that wants to learn a new language?
Well, for me, It depends, I guess, on what kind of learner are you, how you learn best. For me in particular, I'm not interested so much into speaking right away. I'm more interested in acquiring vocabulary and getting to understand the structure of the language by either or by reading and also listening. I think that's more important because you could right away try to speak, right? But if you're talking to a person and the person answers to you, then you don't have enough vocabulary to keep a conversation or to even understand what they're telling you. So I would say first build up your vocabulary.
Gotcha.
And the best way to do it, I think, is by listening, reading.
Okay.
So focus on your input first, and then I think the output is going to come out.
The output will come out.
That's
Okay.
the result, yeah.
Gotcha. No, and that's really good because a lot of people focus on. There's a lot of apps out there, like Duolingo, or that'll show you, basic words.
Right.
And but like you said, it's very important to have a wide range of vocabulary in order to not just speak to them but understand what they're saying.
Right.
And also, many people don't know that you like Japanese.
Yes.
You're obsessed with the Japanese culture. Tell us a little bit about.
No, I'm not obsessed.
Okay.
I just like. I thought when I thought that I wanted, before trying to learn French, I thought that I wanted to learn another language besides English. Listening to Japanese, I noticed that it's very close to Spanish in pronunciation.
Okay.
So for a Spanish speaker, it's easy to get Japanese words right, like at least pronounce them so a Japanese speaker could understand.
Can we have a little Japanese practicing to prove your point about Spanish? Give me an example.
Let's see. 日本語が少し話せます。
Oh man, that's a tough one, guys. 日本語が少し
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 日本語が少し話せます。That means I'm able to speak a little Japanese. That's what it means.
Wow. Man, that's a little simpler one. Let's take it down a notch.
Let's see. Daniel です。
Daniel です。
Daniel です。I'm Daniel.
I'm Daniel. Okay. Okay. So those are a few examples of what you were saying. Now, tell me, okay, so you said you don't have an obsession. You don't want to confirm that on camera. But now let's talk about the Japanese culture. What attracts you about that culture? I know you've wanted to go to Japan. What are some spots you want to go see? What food do you want to try? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. About the culture, I like the, I guess, the discipline that they have. Yes, they're very methodical and disciplined. I like they're very quiet. They're not like loud people. I've heard that after a long day's work, people go to drink and they can get loud. Yeah, they can get loud on the train or something. In general, they're quiet.
In general, they're quiet. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that happens here too, right? After work. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like their art, the stuff they have for. I like how they take years to master a profession that whatever it is, like making fans or making sushi or something like that. At least 8 to 10 years to get be a master or an expert on doing that. Yeah, I like that. As for visiting places, well, I don't know. I don't know why Sapporo sounds good to me.
Sapporo.
That's the cold part of Japan, because you have the island, the big island.
Yeah.
and then what would it be? The east. Yeah, I think it's to the east, because you have Okinawa also, which is very hot, like hot and humid.
Okay.
And Sapporo is more like you get snow in winter and all that. And there are parts on the Big Island, I think, like Sendai, places like that. And yeah, obviously Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Yeah.
Gotta go to Tokyo.
Yes. Just to get to know it.
Just to get to know it. Okay, and when it comes to food, you mentioned sushi as something that they master for a certain period of time. I didn't know that. So I'm sure that's on your list of things you want to try.
Yes, sure.
Is there something else, food related, that?
Well, not really. I must confess that I don't know a whole lot about Japanese food, like besides what you can get here.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I would try things over there that I haven't here. So
You might have to ask the wife, because she loves food and like
yes, she likes to cook. Yes.
cooks and
Right.
she keeps you well.
Yes. Keeps me.
Keeps you happy. No, that's good. That's good. So now that we've jumped from that topic, let's talk about when it came to working in the States. How was that different from working in another country? What were the differences?
Well, I don't know. In Bolivia, I remember working at the university. I was working at the physics lab. I wasn't the only one, but in my group we were building a machine to measure some experiments.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like a part-time job. I also started working for a little accounting company. But yeah, when you say different, I can't say there was very different, like the work culture.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm asking, more of like the work culture and in another country compared to the States. Is there that much of a difference? Depends on the culture of the company.
I guess it depends on that, but I didn't notice a big difference, to be honest. Yeah.
And whenever you're choosing a place to work for, how important is the culture of the company in your decision making of where you're going to work?
Well,
Okay. And we're back after a few commercials. We're back on the show, The Journey with Daniel Cornejo. Okay, so now that we're back, I'll ask you the question again. Whenever you decide where you want to work, how important is the culture of a company in your decision making?
Okay. Well, I value my time a lot, and I couldn't work for a company that asked me to devote all of my time to it. They could, they think they can call me on weekends or at night. That's time that I reserve for family, for example.
Okay.
So yes. So I try to separate my work life from my family life very clearly. So if I couldn't have a life outside work, then that's a job I wouldn't take.
Gotcha. And how close? Because there's people that like their jobs, that really, really enjoy their jobs. Would you consider yourself one of those people?
Yes. I don't. I like very much what I do. Yes. It's interesting. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And so I think that's the ideal thing, right? You want to find something that you're good at, that you love to do, and when it comes to that thin line between work and then your life, was there ever a point in your life where it was hard to find that line of you just love doing what you do, but you have to draw that line? Was there ever a point?
In the States, no. Probably in Bolivia, when I was working at this small accounting company.
Okay.
And the problem was that besides work, I also had to study, and I also had my personal life. So that was the reason I had to let that job go, because it was taking too much out of my life.
Out of your life. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so that's nice, and I think that's been a topic that a lot of people are putting out there now when it comes to work-life balance. It's before it wasn't really talked about. People thought it was, it just wasn't spoken about, just like many topics, right, that are now in society. But when it comes to that topic of work-life balance, what advice can you give whenever you're going to apply to a job and you have an idea of what you can offer? How would you how can someone that's either getting a job for the first time or is transitioning from one company to another ask, or I guess say what they want in a respectful manner, and or how have you done it, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, well, I would say be upfront, right? Just state that, as I said, you value your family life. If you, for example, in my case, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, so I need to say upfront that certain days of the week I cannot work late hours, or I need to travel sometimes to go to, for example, a convention.
Gotcha.
So if you lay it out at the beginning, then there are no surprises after. So if they accept your terms, then they have to respect what the agreement that you reached at that point.
Gotcha. So can we say that it's fair to say communication is key whenever you're speaking to your superior or
yes, sure,
whoever you wanna? Okay. And that communication, does it go after the first day? Have you ever seen yourself having to set things straight again, or not really?
In my experience, no. There'd be no. Well, maybe when it's change in management,
okay,
you need to restate what you, or the agreement that you had with your previous supervisor or boss.
Okay.
But in general, for example, I have a certain days that I can take off, and so far I have had no problem.
Now, for one more question, when it comes to coders and coders around the world, as you are one of them, what gets on coders' nerves? And we can talk about things that people think about coders, just the reputation that you guys have. There's different ways that people view people that code or that do IT. What are some of the things that get on coders' nerves when it comes to people classifying you guys? I'm curious.
I don't know. You mean I don't know. Maybe they put us in a box, think that we are all, I don't know, dorky and things like that.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think Come on, tell what do you guys at work, talk about? Man, why do people think of us like this? Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I guess the social thing, like they think that we're not very good at like socializing. Or
what do you say to that?
I don't know. Maybe in some cases it's true. I don't know. I don't know if it's true in my case. I couldn't be a good judge of character and myself. What do you think?
No, I think Daniel. He's a good guy. I think he's very fun. He likes biking. We've done a lot of cool things. Very outdoorsy person.
Oh yes.
If you guys did not know, so tell us a little bit about your outdoorsiness. Prove the critics wrong.
Well, my wife and I like hiking, so we would go to Colorado and hike like miles and miles. We like camping, so we go to state parks mostly.
Best state. If you were to give me top 5 state parks.
Well, if you want to escape humidity, go to here in Texas. Go to Guadalupe State Park.
Okay.
If you like hiking and like a little challenge, like not flat all the time with little hills, go to Huntsville. If you like a really beautiful place to go to Enchanted Rock. I think that's not a state park, but a natural area, I think it's called.
Okay.
If you like canoeing or boating, go to maybe Lake Livingston.
Okay.
That would be nice. I think one more. Oh, if you like alligators, go to to Brazos Bend State Park.
And so Daniel's, man, he's crazy. He takes his dog to this park.
Yes.
And nothing, no incidents.
No.
No.
For now.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
The dog is getting a little older.
Yes.
It's getting a little harder to run away from crocodiles.
Yes. They're pretty chill with crocodiles. Yes.
They're chill crocodiles.
But they're actually alligators, no crocodiles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if there were crocodiles, I'd be worried. Yeah.
For us noobs, what's the difference, alligators and crocodiles?
Well, that's a good question. Like anatomically, I don't know, but you can only find crocs in Africa and I think Australia. Over here we have alligators. Crocodiles could be like aggressive, like they would hunt you. Like yes, they make their prey.
Oh,
but
man.
alligators don't.
That's scary.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the difference.
Okay, man. And so if any of you guys are on a boat or a cruise, as I have, definitely you want to have a friend like Daniel, because Daniel will know almost everything about anything. I feel like trivia, like I feel like you'd be the best partner for trivia. Have you ever done trivia?
No.
You know, like questions, random questions and that require answers.
I don't think so. I played Trivial Pursuit, but that's
about it.
That's all, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, because like we've had a lot of conversations where I ask you random questions, like really random. Like right now we're talking about computers, now we're talking about crocodiles and alligators, and you just seem to know.
Mm-hmm.
What's the secret? Tell us. Reading.
Yeah, read a lot.
You read a lot?
Yes.
Nice. What do you read?
I like National Geographic. It's a good. Have a subscription to Scientific American.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I can remember things once I read them. Could be in the newspaper or magazine.
It just comes to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So get you a friend like Daniel to answer those trivia questions, man. He's the best. So before we close the interview, I always like to ask my guests, and we've actually stopped doing this, but we're going to bring it back. 3 keys. 3 keys of success that have helped you become the person you've been. I guess things that are how can I say this? I'll give you an example. I guess we can do this. Sometimes people will say, happiness is important, and for them, this has helped them to be happy, or working hard. Certain things that characterize the person that you are, that could help the audience just become better people, no matter what type of background they have. Just general keys that have helped you.
Okay. Well, people, for example, talking about happiness, they think that whatever you have is the key to happiness, like you mentioned in terms of material things. But I've learned that that's not the case. To say so money is not the key to happiness. It's definitely not. So if you're happy, for example, with what you do, if you enjoy what you're doing, that could bring some sense of satisfaction, for example.
Okay.
Regardless of what you get in return in terms of material things.
Gotcha.
So, in my case, for example, my relationship with God would be most important.
Okay.
Then comes my family, and then my job.
Okay.
But when I do my job, I try to do it the best I can. So work hard. If you're working a 40-hour week, do the 40 hours to the full. Give it 100% for that 40 hours.
Gotcha. Perfect way to end the podcast, Daniel. Thank you, man, for being on the podcast.
For sure. Thanks.
It's been fun talking about a lot of things, the Japanese culture,
Yes.
and everything that involves that culture. So thank you for being with us. This is your plug. What I mean by that is, if you want people to find you, either on Instagram, on LinkedIn, which actually I'm gonna start a LinkedIn. I've always said I'm gonna start it, and I'm finally gonna start it. This is your chance, man. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. This is your plug.
Okay. Well, I'm not very good or very big in social media. I think I have a LinkedIn, and it's gonna be JD Cornejo.
Okay.
76.
And what can we expect to see in your LinkedIn?
Not much, just my resume, I guess.
Okay, so got you. Okay, so your resume.